If you want to be prosperous over the next decade, you need to think globally. You need to think, how can I fulfill the needs of these growing countries? Because America, the days of the economic boom that America has been so blessed to experience since the 1700s. I mean, the stock market has averaged an 8 to 10% growth year over year since the 1700s. It's unbelievable. No other country has experienced that. Absolutely amazing. Starting in 1942, we grew. Our population grew substantially. Our oil demand grew substantially because of technology, because of our advancement, because of our ability to finance, because of our ability to export, because of our ability to build a military and build an economic superpower. Our growth was substantial. And so that caused us to mature our economy. When your country has explosive growth, at some point that growth is going to stop. You can only mature your economic power before you start to taper off. And so I truly believe that America hasn't reached its peak, but the potential to have explosive growth like we experienced in the 1940s, those days are over. And so if you're thinking locally, if you're thinking American investment, like the real estate market, if you are in California, you are probably struggling right now. But if you're in Texas, you're probably doing well because Texas is experiencing explosive growth. But at some point, Texas is going to slow down as well. And the American growth that we have seen, that we've been so prosperous to experience, that's all coming to an end. You need to think globally. 1.4 billion people in the world were part of that growth and are living in a mature economy where your standard of living is high. You have a home, you have a gas-powered vehicle, you have all the electronics you can imagine, you have access to clean water, clean food. But there is still roughly 7 billion people that have not experienced that explosive growth, don't have that standard of living that the other 1.4 billion people have. But you're coming into an age to where, because of technology, imagine, would America be the country it is today without technology, without access to financial instruments, without access to cheap, abundant energy, because we imported all that oil from Saudi Arabia? Where do you think we'd be? Just subtract one thing, just to subtract cheap, abundant energy that we got from Saudi Arabia. Would we be the country we are today? No, it's impossible. It's impossible. That's why countries rely upon imports and exports, global trade, to advance their economies. Now imagine, where would we be today? Technology has brought us to the level we are today, making us the superpower we are. We have the most powerful military. We have the ability to sanction any and every country in the world. We have the ability to be the world police. We have Hollywood. We have advanced technology that no one has ever discovered. We are a superpower. But imagine where we'd be today if we had AI back in the 1940s. Who knows where we would be today? Here's my point. The emerging markets, there's many analysts sounding the alarm. There's many people that are talking, but the thing is, you're not hearing about it because of what could happen. The fact that 7 billion people in the world hasn't experienced that explosive golden age of growth like America has. They are getting ready to have access to things that could cause explosive growth like it did for us in the 1940s. They have access to AI today. They have access to the internet. They have access to education. They have access to things on the global stage. And for instance, because of BRICS, BRICS is giving them access to financial instruments that they didn't have access to before. They have access to cheap, abundant energy. They have access to things that are needed from the global stage to import and to export. If you can't export, you cannot become a global superpower. If you can't import, you cannot grow. There are things that you need from other countries. There was a time that there was enough oil from America to be self-sufficient, but we grew so quickly we didn't have enough oil anymore. And we were on the path for inflation because of energy prices being too high. That's why we made that deal with Saudi Arabia. There are other countries that are just better at making the very thing that you need, whether because of their advanced technology, because they have knowledge that you don't, or because of the resources that they have. For instance, Saudi Arabia has a massive amount of oil. Russia has a massive amount of fertilizer. Russia has access to technology that many other countries do not have. That's why Russia's working with Iran. Iran has drone technology. Russia has war knowledge and nuclear technology. So when you have access to the global stage, to their technology, to their knowledge, to their weapons, to their infrastructure, to the things that you need as a country to grow, it's going to cause explosive growth. And because of technology, it's only speeding up the process. So you put this technology in the hands of billions of people. And because of the cell phone, because of today's cell phone technology, it's in the hands of everyone. It puts people, I mean, imagine if you had a time machine with the knowledge that you have, would you not be able to help advance civilization? Or if you had a time machine to go back to the days of King David, or go back to the days of Egypt, and you had an AR, today's AR, with unlimited amount of bullets, and you sat back 500 yards with a sniper rifle, and you just started taking out their generals, or you had access to an F-16, they couldn't even come close to even competing with you. Well, that's why America became the superpower, because we were one of the first to make aircraft carriers, missiles that could go 1,000 miles, nuclear bombs. I mean, we had access to technology that no one else had, and we also had the ability to print more money. In the past, if you had a larger military, it was all about numbers. If you had 100,000 people with swords and spears, and another country only had 10,000, you're going to win that war. I don't care how much better of a war you are, you can't compete with that. And nowadays, it's not about numbers. It's one nuclear bomb could take out an entire country. That puts you well ahead of the game. And so that's why America, with such a small population, was able to subdue the entire world. We conquered the world, man. We won wars that no other country has because of the ability to print as much money as we wanted. Print, baby, print. And at the end of the day, it's not money, it's technology. It's access. It's people accessing our currency. It's the ability, Saudi Arabia used our currency to sell their oil, forcing the globe to use that currency. And because of the central banking system, which is technology, the SWIFT system, it forces every country to use our dollar, giving us the ability to print as much money as we wanted, giving us the ability to sanction economies and countries. I mean, you can't sanction a country unless they're using the system that you control. So imagine a future where America isn't the only one controlling the system, controlling the currency. Imagine a system where everybody has access to the system, where it's not just one person controlling the system, removing the monopoly that America has. Imagine a world where everyone has access to technology. Imagine a world where everyone has access to cheap, abundant energy, where everyone has access to cheap, abundant food and cheap, abundant technology. Imagine that world. Because America, I love my country, but we have been very selfish with resources. We consume more energy, more food, more materials per person, per capita than any other country. And all these countries are like, because of YouTube, because of social media, they're seeing the life that we live. I've had people attack me on YouTube because they're jealous of our lifestyle. And so these countries, they want what we have, but they just didn't have the ability to grow their countries like we did in the 1940s. So imagine a world that has the potential to grow. It's kind of scary because you think about it, that gives them access to weapons of mass destruction at a faster rate. That gives them the ability to defend their country and to attack other countries. But the growth potential is unbelievable, which is why the superpower, America, is lecturing these other countries, hey, listen, guys, stop using oil. Oil is destroying the country. Oil causes cancer. It causes all these issues. That's why they're pushing it, because they know that if these other countries grow, they will not be able to police the world anymore. If these other countries increase their oil demand, oil prices will go to levels that we cannot afford. There won't be enough oil for America. Our demand reached over roughly 20 million barrels a day. And if China and India both used as much oil as America did per person, their demand would be over 160 million barrels of oil a day by themselves. and world oil demand is 104 million barrels a day. It's unbelievable. And the West knows that if the 1.4 billion people that matured the economies, if the rest of the world grew like the other 1.4 billion, there would not be enough resources. It wouldn't happen. There's still a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. The green energy infrastructure is nowhere near where it needs to be. And personally, based on what I've heard from really intelligent people, and just based upon what I understand about green energy, it's really impossible to do it without oil. And not just the fossil fuels, but cheap, abundant fossil fuels, which is why they do everything in their power to manipulate and control oil. So here's what I'm telling you. If you are to be super prosperous over the next decade, you need to stop thinking locally. You need to think globally. Saudi Arabia became the superpower they are today, the country they are today, cheap and abundant. Look at Dubai. It's absolutely gorgeous. Why? Because they provided a need for the economic powerhouses. They provided a product for the 1.4 billion people that grew at unprecedented rates. For the economies that matured, they provided something they needed, oil. And so America, we've reached our peak. The days of real estate growth, the days of the stock market growth, it's reached its peak. Are we going to see increases or decreases? I don't know, but you can't grow at that rate forever. Historically speaking, every single fiat currency ever created at some point fails. We have a different kind of currency, although it is a fiat currency. It's a widely used fiat currency, but BRICS is bypassing the US dollar, and they're using their own currencies, their own system to import and export. And their GDP is greater, surpasses the G7. So imagine it's not just one country that is growing like America did. Now you've got many countries coming together underneath the umbrella of the G7, and their growth is unbelievable. They're coming together. They're emerging as one massive country. 4 or 5 billion people coming together using AI technology, interly trading, importing and exporting every need. They're growing together, and they're bypassing the American system. Who's going to provide the oil for that country? That's why China is so focused on that relationship with Russia, with that relationship with the UAE, with the Middle East. I mean, China was brilliant. They make trillions of dollars on their exports, beating out America. And their relationships with these other countries to export is growing, while the rest of the countries are tired of the Western politics. They're tired of being lectured about green energy. This is how you need to live your life, when they know they have selfish ambition. I mean, you know that guy at the table that they want to fill the room with their knowledge and what's in their brain, and they think they're better than everyone else. And at the end, they throw out their gold card in American Express and say, hey, it's on me, guys. This guy's just trying to show me how much better he is than me. He's not. He doesn't want to bless me. He's here to serve himself. The arrogance of Americans when they go to other countries offends these people, and they know that if they follow what they're saying, because if you look at the history of America, if you understood, which because of AI and because of the internet, everybody knows how America grew. Period. It's really simple. Cheap, abundant energy, technology, building things that everybody wanted, advancing your military, having access to a financial global market, the ability to import and export. You have access to all of that, you will grow. And if your country's missing something, like Japan doesn't produce oil, they import all of it. That's why they're able to grow. There was a time that there was countries that just didn't have any oil, and you got to live a life without gas-powered cars. Then all of a sudden, people, because of shipping, people could import and export. And so now we are getting ready for a massive explosive growth, but not just for one country. We're talking about 4 billion people here, guys. Who is going to supply all of that oil? And so I truly believe that there's never been a better time. And I know I'm biased because I'm in the oil business, but there's never been a better time to be in oil markets, because oil is a global commodity. And so America, when the refineries buy our oil, and it's up to the refinery to find the buyers. We export 4 million barrels of oil a day. 4 million barrels of oil a day is exported. If you think globally, oil is very needed for the potential of these other countries to grow. All right, guys, I'm Sean Pruitt president of Kingdom Exploration. If you have any thoughts about what I had to say, please comment below. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you're thinking. And if you enjoy this channel, please like and subscribe. And we'll talk soon. Thanks.